What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So this video game called Helldivers 2 is going to be dropping on PC along with PlayStation 5 day one. Now, this is very interesting because, as many of you know, the business models have been shifting for the past few years. Both PlayStation and Xbox are now hybrid publishers, including Nintendo themselves. And this conversation that I've had in the last few days about how these exclusives, usually need to go is much telling than many would care to admit, because I've seen people say, based on a lot of my, analyses or conclusions, that Xbox just need to go third party and destroy their brand, when in reality, they're ignoring things like these. Like, literally, a PlayStation 5 game is doing PC, features trailers, is literally advertising that you should, play the game with your weapon of choice. Over here, look at this. They put a mouse and a keyboard and a PlayStation 5 controller, which I'm sure you can use wherever, if you're playing on PC anyways. You can use the DualShock 5 controller on Steam. You can use your mouse and keyboard and all kinds of fun stuff. In fact, we're even right now in this whole conversation. It's so weird, ladies and gentlemen. I kid you not. We're in a very interesting place where there's also conversations about, using a PlayStation account to log in because it's online only. And I know some people may say, well, this is not the same thing as launching a AAA game on PC and so on and so forth. But you know that once Pandora's box is opened, it's hard to close it down, because at first, this whole PC initiative did not start out with any single game going to PC day one. That's not how it started. It started with the games going to PC later down the road. Now it's been modified and it's been tweaked a little bit to be, okay, we're going to send the online games to PC day one, and then other games we're going to send eventually to PC. Now, look very carefully at the next tweak that you're going to hear, where it's going to be, well, how about these games go to PC day one, and then we just keep some of these games over here? Why? Software sales are very important. When you put all this money, yeah, you sell all the consoles, but at the end of the day, a game like this is going to struggle without a broad audience, because it's going to go up against other established titles that have that broad audience that you have most of the, way segmented yourself from. So understandably, be it Helldivers, be it Horizon Forbidden West, be it God of War, be it Spider-Man or whatever, they all will feel that same pressure overall, that their availability is low. Hence, their sales are going to be somewhat stagnated at some point, because the sales will peak on the platform. And if you want to break through that peak, or you want to break through that flat line, or you want to extend that curve to keep, an upward trajectory, you would have to move to other consoles or other platforms. So it's really interesting to see all of this. I mean, I'm looking at the PC specs here as well too. This is where a lot of, this is a big video, for me to make, because I think it really does, contextualize a lot of what I've been saying and provides a small snapshot of it in real time. Let me show you what I mean as well too. So if you look at the PC specs, it's very interesting to see overall. You notice that the minimum is going to run at 30 FPS if you're using an i7-4790 and a Ryzen 5 or Ryzen 5 1500X, and if you're using like a GTX 1050 Ti. So these are old, builds that can still do 30 FPS in some games. And then by the time you get to recommended specs, you're looking at an i7-9700K or Ryzen 7 3700X, and you're looking at a 6600 XT. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that 6600 XT that we were talking about for the $100 PC build? Do you all remember when I was saying this, that, with the 6600 XT, you can basically match, the PlayStation performance, and this is at 1080 and it's recommended. By the time you get to 1440 and 60 FPS, you're looking at anything a little bit more than that. i5 12600, you're looking at the 5800X 3D. That's a $300 CPU, and you're looking at 16 gigs of RAM, as well as 16 gigs, or if you're using an NVIDIA card, the 3070, the 6800 XT is got 16 gigs of VRAM. And then when you want to go to 4K, you're looking at the 7900 XTX or the 4070 Ti. Now, 4K, in this regard for the PC is going to run differently from the 4K, on console. We don't even know if the game's going to be running 4K on console. If it is, that's good. They must have scaled the game to the way that it can get the job done. but it also is revealing that the recommended specs to be able to play this game is, something that is either less than according to many people who keep saying, that the PC specs are the 3070 or whatever, which is a lie. 3070 eats everything up inside of a PlayStation. It's more like the 6600 non-XT. That is kind of where it is. But then, the 6600 XT, the 6700 non-XT. Let me be careful with that. And now they're saying the 6600 XT, which is what has been, for the most part, used as kind of this, weird benchmark, even though it's not really the best of benchmarks, but it is what it is. So, you need 100 gigs for this game. So a lot of textures, a lot of different details being loaded on here. And I think it's actually a very interesting time that we're in, especially with all these conversations that are going on. So I guess with this, I can conclude that PlayStation is also a third-party publisher because they're publishing on a different platform. Just like anybody would say anything about Xbox bringing their games to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch as, oh, why don't they go third-party? I guess we can actually now take the scales and measure them in this regard. But that will be a stupid conclusion at the end of the day because that's not necessarily the case. Apparently, you can be a business where you publish both first-party and third-party, with regard to how it is you actually move, in the gaming industry. So I guess Helldivers is one of the games that fits into that very well. And so does Call of Duty. So does Minecraft, because of all kinds of different circumstances at the end of the day. But I never thought I would see this day, though, in this light or so quickly, where the PlayStation's plans with PC start to pretty much manifest themselves and show that the business model is now changing. Game Pass has come in, and the traditional, we're not going to, bring out our games everywhere is now become a thing of the past. You don't do that anymore. If you're not, Nintendo, and even Nintendo right now, is starting to, make some interesting moves overall. And what I mean by the interesting moves, anyways, I mean, this might not be something that really pushes a lot in terms of how people are seeing things, because I've seen some people, say, well, this is something Nintendo has been doing before. Well, it's the fact that Nintendo actually wants to go ahead and start licensing its brands to other developers for games. Now, from the way I understand this, this is really interesting. So let's take a look at it because I went ahead and clipped the headline and I put it on the community page of the channel. This says Nintendo could license out its brands to other developers for game. Now, this is interesting because this is the same from the way you're reading it. It's like Marvel licensing out Spider-Man to make a game that belongs to them, which with an IP that they are in charge of and they own. It's also the same as, say, that Superman game that got canceled in 2006 because of the economic situation in the world, which was licensed out by Warner Brothers. Even though they had studios that could make the game, they licensed that out to them. So there'll be some profit sharing. There'll be some interesting, financial agreements that go with that. And some people are saying that, Nintendo has been doing this for years. Maybe they've been doing it for a while, but it's not been really out there. I know for sure that Ubisoft has a contract to be able to go ahead and do Mario Rabbids. So that is a collaboration in a sense with Ubisoft and Nintendo to be able to bring a game of that nature, to their ecosystem. But it is a Ubisoft developed game. When you look at, pretty much when you look at all of the different players in the particular ecosystem, the publisher is also Ubisoft, as well as Nintendo. So it's a partnership per se. It's not like somebody was saying in my community page saying, so they're licensing them and saying, make a game for us. No, they're saying make a game. They're saying you can make a game with our IP. You can publish it. You can do whatever it is, or the agreements are going to be different. It's going to be depending on what the studio is capable of doing or what it is that Nintendo is willing to allow them to do. But it's Nintendo branching out from their classic exclusivity that has already been in place for the longest time. And so the market is changing so fast. I'm sitting here looking at a PlayStation game, regardless of how big or how small you want to call it, launch day one on PC. And I think we're going to continue to see this trend because, again, Xbox has already taken this as a norm and PlayStation is looking for a way to normalize it. But they're going to have to, slowly and calmly put it into perspective as time goes on, because that's the next, battleground. PC is. I'm surprised that PlayStation did not go ahead and open its own fat PlayStation launcher and say, hey, all our PlayStation games are right here for you guys to play on PC. I'm shocked that they didn't go ahead and do that in response to Game Pass, because that would have really checked Game Pass heavily. But they let Game Pass just run amok, and now Game Pass has become this massive giant, having Activision games on the wait list on the bench, ready to at any point come into the game, and have Bethesda, and then they have a lot of third-party partnerships going on. It's a really interesting gaming scene that we're going to be seeing very soon. I'll talk to you guys in another one. Thanks so much for watching the video. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.